How's it going, guys? Cody, guys, back again, dropping yet another video. I tell you what, a girl introduced me to this drink, ginger ale, and like I said, you can see all the fruit and stuff. Absolutely refreshing as anything. I had a few too many last night though, felt like shit. Anyway, this is a story in the Nottinghamshire Live, link in the description below like you always do. Headline reads, prison officer jailed after she fell in love with a convicted murderer at HMP Lowdham Grange. Mother of two, Sarah Musson, shared 100 secret calls with an inmate under the alias of Charlotte. A former prison officer has been jailed after she fell in love with an inmate serving a life sentence for murder at Lowdham Grange prison. Mother of two, Sarah Musson, who has since been working in Sainsbury's, was locked up for 6 months after she began a personal relationship with the man. Nottingham Crown Court heard that she had pleaded guilty to misconduct in a public office. Judge Stephen Coupland told her in the dock, "You must have appreciated that if the relationship ended, you left yourself wide open to blackmail and criminality." Musson was found out after confiding in a colleague about her husband finding a note at their home containing a prisoner's name and number. The husband asked the defendant to leave the marital home, said Alan Murphy, prosecuting. When prison phones were checked, more than 100 calls had passed between Musson and the inmate in just 3 weeks. 3 recordings were listened to, and it was plain the recipient was this defendant, and they were engaged in a personal relationship, said Mr. Murphy. The prisoner had recorded a different name against numbers on his list, so he could call from prison. Mr. Murphy said the name belonged to an ex-partner, plainly to disguise the fact he was contacting the defendants. Musson was arrested at work and resigned and apologised for her actions. Under the spare wheel of her car was a mobile phone and 6 letters from the man and another from another prisoner. The 33-year-old of Rosecroft Drive, Daybrook, claimed afterwards she had no support in prison after a death in custody. This is when she spoke with the prisoner she ended up falling for. She said they had feelings for each other and they exchanged letters, but she denied there was any physical intimacy. She also gave him her phone number on a piece of paper when she visited his cell, and she told police he called her Charlotte on the phone, the name of an old partner, and that she was in love with him, and had his picture on the back of her phone, and she was prepared to leave her husband. Mr. Murphy said there was no evidence of actual sexual contact between the two, but stressed how her role required her to be responsible for 60 prisoners and her behaviour compromised that position. Jennifer Wells, who was mitigating, said no items had been taken into the prison by her. Musson was employed by the prison service in August of 2017, previously working 14 years in a supermarket. It's a very different environment to a prison, she said. She received 9 months training before she was made live on the wings in prison, she added. The alleged death in custody was not the only incident she experienced. She has since been working in Sainsbury's 5 days a week. Miss Wells described her as someone who had always been hardworking and a loving, caring mother to her 2 children who are her world. Easy for me to say. Do you know what, guys, right? The thing is, it said there was also a letter from another prisoner. Let me just find it, 1 sec. Yeah, see there, it says, the spare wheel of her car was a mobile phone and 6 letters from the man and another from another prisoner. So she was having it with more than one prisoner, guys. Now, like I say, Sarah Musson, she's obviously ended up in prison now. She's been jailed for 6 months. Nothing to be gained by jailing her for 6 months. It's a ridiculous sentence. But obviously, it's very, very frowned upon, the fact that prison officer relationships shouldn't be taking place because, like I say, it compromises and undermines the security of the prison because the truth is she probably brought in drugs, mobile phones and everything else, but she wasn't caught. Prisoners in this situation, the guy's a convicted murderer, so you know he's serving a long rec or a long stretch in prison as we call it. So he's got to serve obviously a minimum tariff before he's eligible for parole. She was willing to lose her husband. She was also conversating with another prisoner. So it just shows that she's easy manipulated because prisoners in prison that are serving a long stretch, it's about keeping the time, keep things ticking, keep the screws sweet, right? And prisoners, the reality is prisoners are masters of manipulation now. If you can manipulate an officer and get an officer under your spell, that officer will do anything for you. And prisoners use every situation to further their own cause. And like I say, the odd compliment here and stuff like that. The fact that she's thrown out about there was a suicide or a death in custody and she witnessed it, that is obviously going to have an impact on her mental health, but she's using that as mitigating circumstances so she doesn't end up in prison. The fact she's a mother of two, she's lost her husband. It sounds like the marital homes obviously think she's obviously in the wrong. She's cheated on him. It's been confirmed, so obviously that will come up in court when they go for a divorce. 2 children are left, like I say, her mother's now in prison. The relationship's broke down. Everything's skew with. She wasn't just seeing the lifer, she was also seeing another prisoner because there was another letter from another prisoner under this spare wheel in her car and this mobile phone. She was obviously going behind her husband's back, going behind her colleagues' back at work. The prisoner was probably had a girlfriend and then was keeping her sweet. And then, like I said, prisoners are masters of manipulation, guys, hardened criminals that will use every situation to their own advantage. A prisoner looks at a situation and thinks, right, how can I use this for my own advantage and my own cause? And like I say, she fell under the spell, not just one prisoner, but 2 prisoners. She's now been sentenced. Like I said, she'll do 3 months, but she'll be eligible for tag after about 5-6 weeks. So she'll probably get tag, and then that'll be it. But her relationship is in tatters. She's disgraced from her job. You know what I mean? Pension, stuff like that. It's not worth it, guys. But the facts are, right, if you house women, my personal opinion is there shouldn't be any female screws in a male jail. And there shouldn't be any male prison officers in a female jail. It would cut down on inappropriate relationships massively so. Right? There's no need for a woman prison officer in a male prison. And it's not a sexist thing. It's nothing to do with sexism. It's to do with cutting down on sexual relationships, because if you've got no female officers, right, there's a high probability. Females are softer in nature than males. If you've got a crazy girlfriend on the out, you guys, you'll be like, yeah, that's what you, when you're trying to stab me, mate, you're not saying that, you know what I mean? But in general, women are softer natured and they're easier to manipulate than males, for the most part anyway. Do you know what I mean? People about stronger spirit and stuff. But like I say, you house somebody on a wing working on I feel like, I'm not fighting, don't want to, but yeah, if you're housing somebody, a female prisoner officer on a wing with male cons, it's inevitable that relationships are going to develop. They're spending that much time. They probably spend more time with the prisoners than they do their own husbands. And then people act surprised when relationships develop. Doesn't surprise me in any which way. This is happening in prisons up and down the country. They've just obviously not come to the surface yet, but they will. Was it worth it? I asked Sarah Musson, was it worth it? The prisoner doesn't give 2 shits, right? He might say that he does and he might act like he does. The reality is, he knows she's going home to her husband every night. He probably didn't give a shit because he's probably like, you know what? I'm just trying to get what I can out of this situation and what's going to benefit me, and etc, etc. Benefit me and benefit the lads. All the lads would have known he was having a sexual relationship. Do you want us to believe that there was no sort of sexual contact that took place in them few months that they were seeing each other? Absolutely not. It goes on, guys. We know the score. Doesn't surprise me. I'm sweating like a pig on a spit. So I'm going to leave it there, guys. Let me know what you think about the video. Let me know what you think about the prison officer. Who's in the right? The prisoner? The prison officer? Do you feel sorry for her? Have you got no sympathy for her? Like I say, she's got 2 children to her husband. She's seeing one prisoner, and then she's also conversating with another prisoner in the same jail. She's now lost her job. She's lost her career, she's lost her husband, and the marital home split in 2. I'm going to leave it there, guys. Let me know what you think. Like, comment, subscribe. Cody out.